Okay, class, let's learn some principles of animation and get to know Blender a little bit more. Grease pencil part, that is, with our animation lesson here. Okay, so this is a classic kind of Preston Blair bounce ball. I have his books from many years ago, so these are basically a lot of his techniques that I've learned when I got started with animation, along with Aaron Blaze and Richard Williams. So 2D animation, it's a really great art form in learning animation going towards 3D animation. Okay, so I mean you can start with just 3D and nothing wrong with that, but if you're rooted in 2D, there's a lot of the timing and spacing that you can master because you are doing those manually as opposed to in 3D. You could, like Pixar style, they do step animation where they don't rely on function curves to do their animation. Well, not all Pixar animators, but most of them do. Um, there you get in 2D, you can kind of appreciate the spacing because you actually provide that. All right, so let's kind of take a look at our bouncing ball right here and apply the principles of animation and well, identify the principles of animation, that is. Okay, I'm going to stop the playback. Space bar is your playback keyboard shortcut in Blender. I will also turn on my screencast. Don't try to turn on your screencast. This is just for me so you could see what's happening here. You don't have a screencast now unless you add it, okay? You don't need it because you're not demoing. Okay, so I use the Blender Grease Pencil 2D animation default. So by default, we get two layers. We have our lines and then our fills layer. We also have our setup colors that are predefined for us, our solid stroke and solid fill for solid and line art stroke, and then we also have our vertex colors. So if you're not familiar with those, please watch the previous lessons on vertex color and shader materials in grease pencil. Okay, so I'm going to turn on my onion skin. All right, and then I set it to 18 to 8 by 18 before and after, so you get to see all the multi-frame in a way uh, when we're playing our animation. Okay, I might get rid of the oh yeah, I'm gonna leave the black background right there in the screencast so you could actually see the keyboard shortcut. Okay, so space bar, and let's kind of take a look at this. Our first thing we study in 2D animation with principles of animation is solid drawing. So solid drawing, it's basically good drawing skills is what it boils down to. If you have good drawing skills, then you know what you know how to kind of maintain your volume. Okay, so we're simplifying it in a way that we're going for a solid drawing by maintaining volume because that's easier to understand, but there's more to that. Clean line art outline, um, consistent thickness, it all goes into solid drawing, um, and shading and highlight and all that stuff. But for now, we're just kind of keeping it kind of like so. Okay, and we're not exaggerating it kind of fully here. We are like on the squash, we are changing the volume, but we're changing the shape, but we're keeping the volume. Okay, so solid drawing is we're being consistent with the circle here or with a ball. Okay, I try. But this is from a very old study from Preston Blair, and this is something that kind of like you just memorize. You just kind of keep adding, and you try to keep your ball the same size when it's a circle shape. Okay, and then down here on frame 4, and I'm animating in ones here. In class we animate in twos because it's a lot simpler to kind of demo it here if it's just one frame at a time. But we could space it out into twos. Okay, so here on frame 4, I'm starting to kind of change the shape already. It's trying to kind of stretch it just by a bit. Okay, frame 5 and 7, they're really stretched right here. So there's some exaggeration, principles of animation right there. Okay, and we have our squash in, squash out principle right here. We didn't have our squash out, like we didn't create it into a full ball, but you get the point right there. Okay, so 6, and then right here goes up, and then I'm trying to keep the shape kind of consistent. Okay, it's not perfect, but that's how you get that kind of hand-drawn look. So this is all hand-drawn, and your homework will be hand-drawn. Stretch right there, it lands right here, squashes, goes back in shape. Stretches on its recoil, going up, and then here starting to kind of the spacing, it's bunch up a bit because it's starting to slow down, it's losing energy. And then one last kind of stretch, but not too stretchy as the other one. Okay, so solid drawing, we want to maintain the shape. Okay, so I'm looking for the exercise right, or your homework is that you keep that shape consistent when it's not being exaggerated. So that's our solid drawing 1. Okay, solid drawing 2 is when we stretch it. We want to keep the volume, so you don't want to make this as the same kind of radius or diameter as the ball, the original round shape, and when you stretch it, because otherwise it'll get kind of huge. So you want to squish it a little bit and then stretch it. Okay, same thing when it's down here. Okay, you don't want to be squashing this, just wrong tool, one sec. Okay, you don't want to be squashing it where you're just squashing it like so, same diameter as that. Okay, you want to make it wide. You want it to stretch from side to side, hence you're keeping the volume. Okay, so for solid drawing, we're looking for that. So you want to imagine if you squash this ball and it's squashable like so. Okay, that the when you squash it from the top going down, all that volume would stretch from the sides. Okay, if this is 3D, front and back as well. So that's our number 2 in solid drawing that we're looking for. Okay, so keeping the shape and then keeping the volume is next. All right, so the next principle is timing. Timing here will very similar to what we talked about last week with straight ahead and follow through. Okay, post to post, sorry, straight ahead and post to post. Okay, so if we're doing a post to post timing, meaning we would then kind of decide, okay, on frame 1 the ball is right there. Okay, that's the first keyframe, so we're going to put number 1 right there. Let me change my pen. Okay, that's 1. Okay, and then our next timing would be let's put this in the background. Okay, let's put this in the background. So I'm going to go to my fields right here, lock that frame. Okay, so that they're all in frame 1, so we could actually see it. So frame 1 right here would be for the background. Okay, so that's frame 1 for our timing, and then we're going to time it again when does it go on the ground. So that would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So on frame 6, it's right there, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So on 13. Okay, and then we go 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So that's our timing. Okay, so imagine none of those balls are actually drawn. You're just kind of looking at your timing right here. Okay, so that's kind of like our timing, and then from here we can also add our arc. Okay, so the arc would be another principle of animation, because all motion, even robotic one, when they rotate, there's an arc. Okay, when you do a walk animation, the bouncing up and down, head bob and whatnot, it all follows on a curve path or an arc. Okay, so for this one, since we're in the fields right here, I'm gonna go with a lower, just a pencil right here, so it's lighter. So I'm gonna going in the center of this ball right here, kind of drawing the arc. So right there, as you can see, it's following this arc right here. And goes up right here. Okay, so right there's our arc. So that's one of the principle of animation that we'll be using a lot. Like when we walk our cat later on, the tail always spins in a circle. Basically, it's a close arc outline. Okay, so there's that. So that's our so we got our timing. Let me change that to our ink pen. So one, we got a solid. We got our solid drawing. Okay, and then number two, we got our timing, and we'll go back to that one with the spacing. Okay, number two, we got our arc. Oh. Okay, and then number four, we talk about also our solid drawing, which kind of overlaps with squash in, squash out, right? So our squash. Okay, and then around frame 5 and 7, right here. That's where our exaggeration. All right, so how many do we have? So we got our solid drawing, got our timing, spacing, we got our arc, we got our squash in, squash out. Okay, spacing right here, that's the speed change, so that's also covering slow in, slow out, or fast, basically speed. Having your timing set, okay, having our timing set right here. When we draw our shapes, that's basically post to post. Okay, that's post to post, and we also have the straight ahead when we actually do the in between. Straight ahead. All right, there's a few more we can add here with staging, how we kind of present that, and we can also add appeal, how we want to shade that ball later on and make it more like a ball. But for now, we want to concentrate on the perceivable animation motion. Okay, so we are doing our frame by frame here. I'm moving my arrow key. Okay, and as you can see here, we are having those bunch up right there where our spacing is. Okay, so let's talk about timing and spacing. So timing, it's same thing with post to post, is where you position your major keyframes. Okay, in this case it will be 1, 6, 13, and 19. Okay, all right, so after that we're gonna create our spacing. Okay, so our spacing basically is how we want to slow down or speed up our animation. So the spacing on frame 2 and 3, they're all kind of bunch up together. So you can see right here, they're very close to each other. Okay, so when you bunch them up like that, it slows down the animation. So at its highest point, the ball on frame 2, 1, 2, okay, and then frame 9 and 10 right there. Okay, what is the other height one? Okay, right here around 17, 18, 19. Okay, that's its highest point. And what's happening to the ball's speed? It's slowing down, okay, at its highest point. And then on its way down, it starts to accelerate. So as you can see here, frame 3 and 4, they're not even touching. That means that ball is moving faster. So frame 4 is faster. And there's an even bigger distance from 4 and 5 and through 6. Okay, so that means the motion right here would be fast. So let's play that animation right there. So you can see it kind of slows. It's still a pretty fast animation, don't get me wrong. Um, but on the spacing, it's there's a variable change in speed when it's on top and then going down. Okay, so that's what you want. So that's what we meant by spacing. Okay, so the more you bunch them up, the slower your animation speed is. The more you spread them out, the faster your animation speed is. Okay, so that's timing and spacing. Okay, number 3 would be our arc. So that's the trajectory of the ball. Okay, so what's important here, not just on the arc, is the height. Okay, so if we are the highest point would be right here. Okay, we go back to frame 1. So you want this to be the highest point, and then it's slowly going down as it loses energy. The other thing also with art that you want to pair it with is the floor. If we're drawing in flat, you want the bottom of that ball, okay, to be a straight line. You don't want this thing lower or higher. Then that means it's not a flat animation. You're already considering perspective in your animation. Then you have to worry about the size of the ball decreasing or increasing depending on how close it is to the camera. But a flat like this, we want to keep it consistent. It lands on the same floor. It's not up or down. You know, it's not unless you have a background object in there where it's bouncing to. But this time we just want like a flat floor. Okay, so squash in, squash out. Again, we are assuming that this ball is quite squishy. Okay, so it's an animation ball. I doubt you'll find something like this in the real world. If you just drop it from that height, that it will squish that way. It is in a way an exaggerated animation to drive the point. Okay, so we squash it in and then we squash out on the recoil, and that's part of solid drawing also. So that's another overlapping principle right there. Okay, so number 5, exaggeration. So as the ball bounces, as the ball drops, kind of like your Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner animation, where there's an exaggerated gravity pull. We are stretching that ball, but solid drawing is a major driving factor in keeping its shape elongated, not too. It's not wider than its original diameter. Okay, so it has to be. It has to be elongated. You keeping the volume. Okay, so that exaggeration, that would be on frame 5, frame 7, frame 12, and frame 14. Okay, a little bit on 15, a little bit on 4 and 8 right here. So you see a little bit of it. Okay, slow in, slow out. Again, that goes along with spacing. So it's slow to drop, fast to fall, fast to go back up, slow on its highest point, fast again on its way down, fast on its way up, then slows down here at its highest point. So if you look at the our main timing here, which is 1 and 6, okay? So we're gonna go put a little square right here as our main kind of keyframe, okay? So that will be 1, 6, 7, and then we'll have, well, we're stopping it right there, so at 19, okay? All right, so let me lower that so it's not a, that's our keyframe right there, okay? When you think of this, each keyframe like this are kind of, there's like a breakdown moment, okay? They have a half kind of division right there. So when you look at it like that, it's a lot easier to kind of understand the slow in and slow out and spacing. So on its way down like so, the movement would be slow, okay? Halfway right there, not exactly halfway, but we're just kind of keeping it divided into two. So on its way down, the movement right here would be fast. Upon squashing and recoiling back, which is about halfway right there, on its way up, that's fast movement, okay? Right here, about, actually, we can't put another timing in there, but that's fast going up there. And then here, where we bunch them up, that's slow, okay? And then here, it's also fast. So we can add, let's say, another timing right here so that we can divide it similar to that. So let me click undo here. Okay, we can add another section right here. What frame is that? Okay, 10. Okay, so we're going to add 10. So frame 10 to our timing right here, so we could explain this better. Okay, so we're going to cut that in half right there. Okay, so on its way up right here, that's fast, and then here, okay, it slows down. Then on its way down, it's slow. Then from here going down here, it's fast. Okay, and the same thing right here on its way up, that's fast. That would be my cat crying, wanting to go out. All right, we got a little interruption from our video lesson. Okay, and then it's kind of similar right here, slow on its highest point. Okay, so that's our slow in, slow out, kind of like the speed. Okay, so same thing, when you bounce up something off the floor, it bounces back up, that's slow. So in order for you to make, I mean it's fast, in order for you to make that look fast, you would spread out the drawing or the keyframe. Okay, and last right here is post to post and straight ahead. We mentioned a little bit about this in our last lesson in our class. So post to post and straight ahead, it's something that you probably done already. Straight ahead is probably what you do most if you ever did some flipbook animation. Okay, you grab the corner of your book and you start drawing in there. So you're just drawing one page at a time. That's straight ahead. So you're animating with no end in sight. You know, whenever you feel like this is the end of your animation, that's where you end it. So it's very organic, very good looking animation, except timing might be a little off on some because you didn't plan ahead. So post to post is what we did right here, where we have frame 1, okay, as our first keyframe, then 6, then 10, then 13, then 19. So you already position where those keyframe will be, so you draw them ahead of time, right? So you kind of, I'm gonna do a little drawing of this one. So let's say that we go, that's gonna be our 1 right there, and then our 6 is right there, then our 10 is right here, lower than 1, and then our 13 is right here where it's squash, and then it goes back up again, 19 right there. Hence the curve, the arc. Okay, so that's our post to post. And whatever you do here for the in-between, that will be your straight ahead. Okay, that's how you make it more organic. So the best way is not to do one or the other on this one, is to combine the two together. So you would do post to post to get your timing, but you have an ending in sight. Okay, so from 1 to 6, from 1 through 6, you draw that straight ahead, and you would do it as organic as you want. So at least there's an ending in sight. If you're ever needing to explain to your producer with your budget how long it would take to finish an animation or a scene, you can tell them, this is a 19 frame animation, and that's the length, and that's the amount of time we'll need to complete the bounce. Okay, and then you would fill in the in-between, also known as twinning, as our straight ahead. Okay, so a lot of the principles of animation goes into just simple animation like this. All right, so now for your homework, okay, we're going to add another layer right here. We're going to lower it, hide that one. Okay, using the same kind of animation. Okay, you can go from all the way to 24 if you want. Okay, for your homework, you're going to do the exact same thing with all this type of object. Okay, so first I want you to animate same ball bounce as that one if you're animating a ping pong ball. Okay, so ping pong ball, probably no squashing, right? Okay, number 2, a bowling ball. Okay, so you're going to animate a bowling ball bouncing. Okay, so, and number 3. Okay, I'll just go back to the timing. I'm going to show that again. Okay, number 3, you're going to have a very soft rubber ball, the type that you find at the Walmart toy section. Not fully inflated, kind of deflated a bit, so there's a lot of squashing involved. Okay, so you can go all the way to frame 24. Animate on once on this, so we get to see it a little bit soft, smoother with your animation. Okay, so what you want is same kind of animation as that one. Okay, but replace that ball that I'm animating, okay, with a ping pong ball first. Next one is a bowling ball, and then a soft rubber ball. And I'm looking for this principles of animation right here. Okay, where did I? Oh yeah, frame 1, so we can read it. Okay, right here. So we're looking for solid drawing. We're looking for timing and spacing. So you need to be able to slow that ball and then make it go fast. Okay, if you have not seen a bowling ball bounce, you might want to go to YouTube and watch a bowling ball bounce. They don't bounce much, they do a little bit, so they don't travel much. Also, when you bounce them, they pretty much roll, but we're not going for the roll animation here. It's just a few bounces we're looking for, and a soft rubber ball. So that's your homework, is to animate. You have 24 frames to do it. A ping pong ball, a bowling ball, and a soft rubber, incorporating all the principles of animation in here. Okay, all right, and you're going to export those balls one at a time, and the video for how to export a movie file is uploaded in your weekly video lesson. Okay, so again, you need those 3. So you will be submitting 3 bouncing ball using those object as your ball, and you're submitting 3 QuickTime files.